Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Ooh, I know this was a short notice. It's been a busy day, and I'm in a lot of pain right now because I've got this leg that just doesn't want to act right. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing okay. And I know it was a short notice. Hi, Marcella. Thank you so much for coming on. You're the first one. So, welcome to the channel. Um, Make sure you type in the chat box where you're signaling from so I can acknowledge your city or state or whatever. Appreciate you being here. There's a lot to talk about. Columbia, South Carolina. Okay, welcome. Um, I'm kind of puffing and blowing because it takes me a little bit longer to get things done because I've got this injury in my leg that has not been resolved, and now it's it's been a rainy, cloudy, ugly kind of day, and my leg. I tell you, it feels like somebody took a baseball bat and hit me in my kneecaps. But oh, it's pretty painful today. It was like that yesterday, and then I had a meeting this morning, and I was up and down and up and down and up and down, sitting up, getting up, sitting down in my chair, getting up, sitting down, getting to the mic, sitting back down. And by the time I got ready to get to the car, it was like, oh man, I can't do anything else except I got to sit. Anyway, welcome everybody. Hello, Thelma. Bellevue, Illinois. Welcome. Illinois in the house. Good to see you guys. Not that I can see you guys, but you know what I mean. I always say that. I'm so glad you're here. You could be anywhere else. Hi, Jacqueline, North Little Rock. Yes. I had family there. Don't know if they're still there. Distant cousins. Anyway, I'm so glad you guys are here. And I do hope that you will help promote the channel. Like I always say, I'm trying to help as many people as I can. And I really depend on you guys to share the channel or direct people to the channel so that they can hear what we're talking about, and make sure even when we sign off, I would appreciate if you guys would engage in conversation in the comment section, because a lot of times people, they hadn't thought of something, or something hadn't crossed their mind, and then one of you guys say something and it's like, oh, so the idea is to help as many people as possible. Thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping to get this thing resolved soon. I'm 2 years into this excruciating pain in my knee from a fall that I took a couple of years ago and came down on my knee on some cement. So, I thought it was going to heal and I thought it was going to be okay. And it wasn't okay. Finally, had an MRI done on it last month, I think it was. And come to find out, it kind of did damage than what I thought. And now there's a hole in my bone. So, yeah, it hasn't been fun. Anyway, thank you. I would appreciate you guys' prayers too, for those of you that do pray. I would appreciate that. I've got a couple of things here, a few things that I wanted to talk about. One of them is, you may or may not. Now, if you were aware of this, just say yes, I was aware in the chat box. But last month, there was a major cyber hack that took place across the United States. And I don't know, I don't listen to the mainstream media anymore because I find them to be not very credible in anything. I mean, they just lie about everything. So I don't listen to them anymore. But I came to be informed about this major cyber hack that took place last month. It's continuing, you guys. This was a major pharmaceutical industry that got hit. And it's so bad that they were holding this company, the um, the cyber attackers were holding this company hostage, basically, and was demanding a ransom. You want your computers back because this went across the country. You want your computers back, you're going to pay us, X amount of dollars. I don't know how much it was, but my understanding is they paid a lot of money to get the use of their computers back. It's been over a month and they still don't have access to their software. Now, what this has done, it's caused a lot of problems with pharmacies being able to fulfill prescriptions. And it's become a very deadly situation because some people have life-saving medication that they can't get their prescriptions filled unless it's a handwritten prescription. So we're going back to that. I mean, that's what they were doing when I was young coming up. None of this stuff was digital because there was no digital. and But now if you need a prescription, your doctor, depending on where you are and if your medical facility was uh, sabotaged like this, you have to take in a handwritten prescription to the drugstore because they cannot get into their system to read anything or to exchange anything. So it's a very bad situation for a lot of people. And if you've been coming to my channel for a while, I have been speaking to you guys about becoming as independent as possible. Get as far out of these systems as you possibly can because we are not in control of them. Now, I'm just going to be honest with you. The way things are going with our government right now, the perverted justice system, the deliberate destroying of people's lives because you don't want to repeat their mantras or whatever, it is not beyond the possibility or the probability that our own government is part of the bad actors that's doing this. Okay. This whole thing is so convoluted. It is so destructive and perverted and our government is very much involved in a whole lot of perversion and a whole lot of ill practices that are going on. I wouldn't put it past them that they're very much involved in this either. I just wouldn't put it past them. So, excuse me, said all that to say, you really need to be looking very seriously into your own health care and what it is you need to do to protect yourself and your family because there are people who absolutely cannot get their medication. They just can't get it unless they pay full price, right? There's always this grab for money. We need more money, more money, more money for Ukraine, or more money for this, more money for that, more money for the illegals, more money for the migrants, but no more money for you. Did you notice that? No money for you. There's money for everything else, but there's no money for you. Anyway, so this whole cyber hacking thing has affected countless pharmacies around the country that can't access their software to be able to do anything. And so the pharmaceutical companies, the pharmacies, the insurance companies, they all work together, right? They don't even get me started on that one. But anyhow, they all work together. And the only people that this is hurting, really, I think, is the patient. You have people that can't get insulin, folks. They can't get insulin because their pharmacy cannot get into the computer to access their prescriptions or to dispense the prescription. It's awful. So I have spent the last, I guess, 4 years or so really looking into my own healthcare and trying to take better care of myself and make my own decisions. And let me tell you something. I'm sorry, I'm just messing with my messing with. You're going to find out that some of these doctors that are so-called practicing medicine, they're not practicing healthcare. They're practicing sick care. In other words, what they want to do is they want to keep you on medications as long as they can because some of them are in partnership with some of these pharmaceutical companies. So there's a lot of money to be made by keeping you sick. If you get well, they lose their patient. If they lose their patient, they don't have anybody to dispense medication to. if they can't dispense the medication, well, then they can't make any money off of it because nobody's buying it. So they don't practice healthcare, they practice sick care. Okay. And I really want you to hear what I'm saying. You really need to take a step back and think about the care that you're getting from your doctor or from your hospital or whoever, and decide, is that what you want? Is that the way you want to go? Because if they're not talking to you about the best way, not to manage your sickness, but to manage your health so that you can get off the medications, hopefully. Now, some people, that's not a possibility for them. It depends on how sick they are, how long they've been sick, what they're sick with. There are some life-saving medications out there. Unfortunately, they may have a lot of side effects. But what really made me start thinking about this is the people that can't access that because of this hack that has gone on for over a month now. And you may have known about it and maybe not. Hi, Jacqueline. But this is something that's happening and it could affect you, because who's to say it won't get worse? Who's to say that these bad actors, whoever they are, even if our government is involved in this, who's to say that it won't come to a pharmacy near you or near one of your loved ones who needs to get a prescription filled, and they can't do it because even if they have a written script, they can't afford full price, right? They can't afford to pay the full price. So they can't get the medication. And, I really want you guys to be thinking about what you can do and how you can best handle your own health care. What is best for you. Really take the time, because a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to take the time to look into anything for themselves. They want everybody to just do it for them, and we can't do that for you. Nobody can do all that for you unless you're absolutely dependent on somebody to do that for you. So there's that. Anyway, so with this whole month going by, and this happening with medications and stuff, it has become a life-threatening situation. It's very sad that we're in the grips of this kind of a war, where there's been a war on everything. There's a war on our food. There's a war on medicine. There's a war on our infrastructure. There's a war on our economy. There's a war. I mean, and most of the stuff that's happening has been with the cooperation of the federal government in cahoots with enemies of our state, enemies of our country, who want to take the country down. And they knew the only way to do it was to do it from the inside out. And so what has happened is we have a lot of politicians in every state, in the justice system, the courts, attorneys, judges, you name it, that are corrupt. They have been bought or they've been blackmailed. Now, not all of them, but the ones that have not been are really swimming upstream, trying to hold on to their integrity and trying to hold on to their licenses, and under great duress and stress to do wrong or to play ball or to get in bed with the devil or whatever it is you want to call it, to help take the country down. So the whole thing that's happening with the medical side of things in our nation is not by accident, okay? The access that has been given to our country has been given to our country by our government. There's a word for that. There's a word for it when you are aiding and abetting the enemy. Okay, there's a word for that. And so if you didn't believe me before when I said they don't care about you, I hope the light is starting to shine in your brain right about now, that you understand that they really don't care about you. Their whole vision is America last, Americans last, no border, no wall, no USA at all. Okay, remember that chant about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, when all that was going on, when our cities were burning and all this stuff was going on, and people got sucked into giving to certain political action groups and all that, just to find out that not one single penny went to the Black community. It all went to their private mansions and their cars and all that stuff. But they sure used people especially Black people, to fund their dysfunction. That's what they did. So I hope with all this stuff going on and with the track record, you can look back and see the things that have taken place over the last 3 or 4 years, coming up on 4 years, and come to the conclusion that all is not well in America. Okay. Um, I was made aware that the first lady and another gentleman, I can't think of who it was, went on a political tour and was talking about how great the economy is and how great it is. Get this, how great it is that every American has access to health care. We just went through a major hack and people can't get their medicine. And you get on the national mic and tell that lie like that. And you have some people saying, yeah, that's right, that's right, that's right, that's right. And they'll vote for this again because people are just backwards like that. It's really sad. It's really sad. Listen, this is an election year and you need to vote your conscience. If you think that the condition that the country is in right now, where gas prices are about to skyrocket because there's always something going on in the Middle East, you know, rice, I just got another report about rice. Now, I told you guys um, middle of last year, or yeah, the middle of last year sometime, I told you all then that rice was the price of rice was going to get ridiculous because India serves 40% of the world with rice. And they stopped exporting anything except basmati, I think it is. Or basmati is the only thing they're exporting. One of those. Anyway, so the price of rice is going up. And if you can get it, if you can get it. So there's shortages going on around the country with different food products and items and things. I saw a lady; she was looking at some toys in the toy section, and she was looking at these, little sand buckets, and she says, "Didn't this used to be $1? How is this same bucket $9? Didn't this used to be $1?" And I guess people are saying, see, this is what happens, right? People don't pay attention to what's going on around them. Um, it has to happen to them before they actually understand, yeah, this affects you too. You don't get to escape, okay? So there are people that are literally leaving the country and moving to other countries where they feel their dollar can stretch further and where they don't have to deal with this kind of politics. Now, the problem is every country that has a governmental structure has politics. And it's just a matter of whether you can deal with it or not. When I was a resident of Canada for 10 years, the politics was ridiculous. Okay, I'm back here in my own country. Thank you very much. It's bad enough here. I don't need the craziness that's going on up north. My husband became a citizen a couple of years ago, left his native country, and became a U.S. citizen because he felt like, and I appreciate that. And a lot of times people don't understand what the fight is about. They don't understand what it is that people are trying to hold on to. But depending on what your age is, um, if you're old enough to understand or to remember how things were, depending on where you grew up. Now, I grew up in the North, so I didn't deal with an exorbitant amount of racism. I just didn't. I mean, I spent most of my life in a white Irish neighborhood, and it was our family and two other black families, and everybody else up and down the street were Italian or Irish or whatever. And so I didn't grow up in a household that promoted that or that promoted the victim mentality of, because I was black, then I was a victim, or because I was black, I wasn't going to be able to get ahead, or because I didn't grow up in that environment. I've always been my own person, and I've always felt like if I want to do it, I'll do it unless it's illegal. And then if I do it and it's illegal, I better not get caught. So I don't do those things anymore. But anyway, I didn't grow up in an environment where woe is me and making all these bad decisions for my life and then blaming somebody else because they were a different skin color. That is the most asinine thing I've ever seen. But I just didn't grow up like that. And so I ain't nobody's victim. I ain't nobody's slave. I'm not back in chains. Ain't none of that stuff apply to me. Okay. And if it applies to you, you need to get delivered from that mindset because you are your worst enemy. It ain't nobody else. Okay. You can go as far as you choose to go, depending on where you want to go and how you want to get there. So I just didn't grow up like that. And so when I look back over the last 4 years, where this whole racial disparity thing has come front and center, which has proven to be a great division, a great point of division in our country when we had come so far. There was still a lot of work to be done, but we had also come so very far. I mean, at one point, we weren't even considered human, fully human. So come on, folks. We got black folks in Congress. We got black people in the Senate. We got black people. Come on. So come on. Yeah, things are not the way they were in the 1900s or the 1800s or the 1700s. Things are just not that way. And if anybody wants to try to make you think that nothing has changed, they are the ones that are trying to put you in chains. Okay. They're trying to enslave your mind to make you part of the problem. Don't fall for it. It's stupid and it's counterproductive. Don't fall for it. All right. So let me look at my notes here. So I wanted to really emphasize, like I said, about um, uh, the hacking and stuff that's going on. The other thing is emergency medical supplies. Now, some people might think you're crazy, but listen, if you think you're going to need some extra band-aids, you better get them. I'm just saying. Some people don't, and you may already be doing some of this stuff, and people may not understand what are you doing. And but if you saw the movie Leave the World Behind, if you saw that movie, it was a decent movie. If you saw that movie and you remember the scene where those two people went to that gentleman's house because their son was sick, or the son was sick, and they needed some medical supply, they needed some help, and they wanted to come in the guy's house. He's like, you don't come any further, right? See, this is what happens when people are in trouble. They haven't done anything. Here we are up on storm season across the country, and some people know that where they live, they're prone to have blackouts and all kinds of stuff like that, in storms, tornadoes, whatever, that could last for, the damage could last, or they could be out of power for 2 or 3 weeks, and they still won't do anything to prepare for it. But they'll show up on your doorstep. You got a cup of sugar? You got, they want you to take care of something that they had the ability to take care of, and they didn't. They chose to do something else with their money. Now, that's not everybody's situation. Some people absolutely have nothing left over. Okay. But there comes a time where you really need to look at what you're spending and see where you can shave back and put back extra things. Now, why is it so important to do this? Well, now there's all this buzz about April the 8th. Is everybody aware of that? April 8th. April 8th of this year is supposed to be a total eclipse. This ain't the first time we've had a total eclipse. This is the first time I heard the federal government say there's going to be a total eclipse. Make sure you have 2 weeks of food and water and medical supplies. For an eclipse that lasts for 1 hour? What else is going on here that they would keep telling us to do stuff like that? Because guess what? Other countries are telling their people, stock up on food, stock up on water. Poland was telling its people, stock up on food, stock up on water. Why? Because of an impending war. That's why. That's why. And a lot of people don't even understand that we have not had war on our soil since the Civil War. None of us living today know what that was like. We have a tendency to look at war movies, or we look at stuff that's happening over in Afghanistan or some other far off place that doesn't touch us because, oh, that's over there. It doesn't touch you unless your son or your daughter went and came back in a box. Okay. It doesn't touch you unless somebody that you know had a son or a daughter or a mother or a father that went over there on their own two legs and came back in a box. Then it touches you. This is different. This is worse than that. This is, if it comes to our shores, folks, we're in trouble because our generals can't decide whether they want to wear nail polish and skirts or whether they want to learn how to be combat ready. They're mentally ill and they can't get their crap together. So we're we're not sitting in a good place. And if you think about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when we pulled out of Afghanistan and left billions and billions of dollars worth of brand new equipment over there in a country where we had been fighting for 20 years. We literally left under this administration all of our brand new equipment, aid and comfort given to the enemy. Okay, just I'm gonna let you think about that. So if you think they care about you, when they gave the enemy the guns to point at you, I don't know what to tell you except you need psychiatric help. Okay, if 1 and 1 does not make 2 in your mind, I don't know what to tell you. Stacker, how are you doing? So anyway, listen. I think I lost some people off my channel, thank God, because I really just feel like some of the things that we talk about on this channel is just too much for some people to handle. That doesn't make them bad people. It just means, yeah, you need to find somewhere else to be. Because I'm just going to say it just like it is. And if the truth makes you all angst and messed up in the head and all that, go find Barney. I don't know what to tell you, but you ain't going to find that here. All right, just go do something else, somewhere else with somebody else, because I ain't the one. Anyway, all right. So why do you think for a total eclipse, the government would be telling people stock up on food, stock up on medicine, stock up on water, make sure you have this, make sure. Why? Listen, when I was coming up, I don't know how many of y'all are my age, but I'm closer to 70 than I've ever been in my life. When I was coming up, and my husband and I were talking about this because, he grew up in Canada, they used to give us these glasses to wear so that we could see it, right? We could see the eclipse, because, they didn't want you to burn your eyeballs out. But they would give you these special glasses that you could look through so that you could see it, But they'd say, now don't look directly at it, but they would still give us these glasses. Now they want everybody to hide in the house. All right. So here's a theory. It ain't my theory, it's other people's theory, okay? You know what they just did with the, you know what they just did. And now all this data is coming out about how this has negatively impacted millions of people around the world, and millions of people have died from it, okay? But not enough people have died from it. So plan B, here's plan B. Now they're talking about unleashing some type of biological weapon on everyone that is in the path of this eclipse. If you're gathered in a crowd, what's a better way to infect people? Get them all together in a crowd and unleash some biological weapon, drop something on them from the air or whatever. I can't confirm that one way or another if that's what they're planning to do. But I will tell you this, I have zero confidence in this administration. Some of us have been alive long enough to have tracked the president's entire career. We know he's a liar. We know he's a fraud. So those of us who were in the know knew not to vote for that, right? So I don't have any blood on my hands, folks, because I knew what I was doing when I did not vote that way, because I already knew the history. I already knew about the perversion. I already knew about the money laundering. I already knew about all that stuff. And so, no, why would I vote for that? when the only thing this person cares about is themselves and enriching their own family. No. Um, and so now you have all these puppets in Washington that have either been blackmailed into being obedient or they're complicit in the destruction of our nation. Pick one. Doesn't matter. It turns out to be the same way for you. They don't care about you. That's the bottom line. So, what are you going to do about that? What are you going to do? What are your plans for your family? How do you plan to protect yourself and your family? What are you going to do about your medical needs? What are you going to do about what's being done to the food? Did you hear about the 2 U.S. rivers that were recently poisoned? It's just like, what are you going to do? Because a lot of people, they really just can't handle it. There's so much stuff going on, they just can't handle it. And they just decide they just going to stick their head in the sand and just not be bothered because it's too much. They just, listen, I'm not saying that it can't get overwhelming. What I'm saying is it is in your best interest to know what is going on so that you know how to protect yourself and your family against bad actors. That's all I'm saying. That is the purpose of me coming on here and trying to provoke you to do something to help yourself. And to ask you to share the channel because I can't reach everybody. You know people that I don't know. You're connected to people that I don't know anything about them and they don't know anything about me. And maybe they're just waiting for one more person. Maybe they got it somewhere in the back of their head. If one more person says this to me, I need to take it seriously. Maybe I'm the one more person. Maybe you've told them so much they don't want to hear it from you anymore. It'd be like, okay, kind of like your kids. You tell them something over and over and over and over again. And for some reason, they can't hear it from you. But Joe Snuffy from down the street can say the exact same thing. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, like they're hearing it for the first time. Mm-hmm. That may be the way some of your friends are when it comes to them needing to prepare for hard times. It is not going to get any easier anytime soon. I don't care who wins this election. Okay? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who wins the election. We are so far over the cliff. There so much has happened till one person in one presidential term cannot get this ship back afloat. You just can't do it. There's too much that has happened. There's too many changes that have been made. Some of this stuff is permanent. Some of it can be corrected, but it would take more than one presidency. And that's if we have an election. Let that hit you. Because I don't put it past the powers that be to unleash some kind of nefarious something on our country or around the world one more time just to keep us in check, to keep from having an election so that the powers that be can continue on the way they are. I mean, I think Mr. Biden's words at one point was, let's finish the job. What was the job? Because nobody has enriched themselves like this administration has. Nobody. If you're making as much money as they are with all that laundering that's going on, let me know in the comment section. As a matter of fact, my email address is in the description box. Write me. I'd like to know where you get your money from. And what do I need to do to get a piece of the action? But anyway, that's all right. I ain't selling my soul for no dollar. Anyhow, just think about what I'm saying. I know I come on here sometimes and I talk kind of crazy and I say funny stuff, but this is no laughing matter, folks. People are dying because they can't get their medication. They're being poisoned, our water's being poisoned, all this stuff is going on. And people look at people that are taking precautions and stuff like they're crazy, like they're over the deep end or it's too much or whatever. So let me take a moment and explain. I want to explain to you the difference between someone that's preparing for hard times and someone that is a hoarder. Okay, there is a difference. The difference is a prepper, if that's what you want to call people that do it. People that were raised in the country have been their lifestyle. They were never called preppers. I don't know. I guess city folks are called preppers. I don't know. But anyway, the difference is a person that is a hoarder has an emotional and mental illness. It is a documented emotional and mental illness. Okay. There is a fear of loss, there is a fear of letting go of something or losing something. And it usually goes back to a very traumatic event that happened in their life when they were younger, or it could have happened, a couple of years back, and maybe they were an older person, the loss of a spouse, or they were in a fire and they lost everything in their home and they've started over, and now it's like they're afraid to let go of anything, or they're afraid of losing everything, so they hold on to everything. And everything has a project. Everything is, oh, I'm going to do this with that, I'm going to do this with that, or I'm going to make something out of that, or I'm going to. It's never because they're going to give it to anyone, and it's never because they're going to help someone else. It's all centered around them. That is the difference between a hoarder and a prepper. When someone is prepping, you can get to a place where after you've spoken to people over and over and over and over again, at some point you have to close the door and say, okay, they don't believe me. I guess they don't need my help, but they don't want my help. But what preppers do is they think of themselves, think of their neighbors. If they have good neighbors, if they have neighbors that are like minded, they think about bartering. They think about, maybe selling stuff to someone who doesn't have it, or exchanging. They don't just hold on to it with no intention of using it and no intention of sharing. That is the difference. Okay. And so they rotate their stuff, they use what they have, they replace what they have, they share what they have. I gave an example a couple of years back where a lady that I know had a very green thumb, and my garden wasn't doing that good, but I had a flock of chickens, and my chickens were prolific layers. And so she says, well, I'd like to get some eggs from you. And I said, okay, what can you give me? She says, I can give you 12 tomatoes if you give me 12 eggs. I said, deal. So that's what we did. So she brought me a carton that had these Roma tomatoes in it. It was kind of funny because they almost fit in there like eggs. And I gave her a dozen eggs. That's what you do. You exchange with people and all that. People that are hoarders don't let go of anything. They don't let go of anything, and the sickness can be so bad. They don't let anyone in their home. The outside of their home may look a mess, and sometimes it doesn't, and it's been hidden from the public for a very, very long time. But their family members haven't been over. Nobody comes over, and if they do, they don't come in. They don't let them in because they know in their mind that something's wrong, and they feel embarrassed and they feel ashamed over how they're living, but they don't have the wherewithal to let things go. And so some people die in their hoard. I mean, they literally have so much stuff piled up so high in their house that if it falls on them, they won't be able to get out from under it, and they'll die that way. And it has happened. So my husband and I bought some property a few years back, and there was a house standing on the property that was kind of full. Um, the woman had passed away in her home. She was a hoarder. We didn't know the history until after we bought the house, but she died in her home, and strangely enough, she was a nurse, so that was interesting. But she had a lot of stuff in there, and it wasn't all junk. A lot of it was um, expensive glassware, expensive perfumes. She was a collector, but she had a mental illness. And I mean, because when you have stuff in every room of your house, including your bedroom and bathroom, stacked up to the ceiling, and you can hardly walk through there, that's a problem. When she passed away, her family, who lives in Texas, some of them live in Texas, one of the family members was listed on her deed as part owner of the property. And that was a whole fiasco getting that thing changed over because they wanted her to relinquish her share of the deed. Well, she's dead, so that ain't happening. But anyway, that was a whole fiasco. But anyway, so some of her family members, they had made like 2 or 3 trips up here with trucks and vans and all this, just trying to clear out as much of the house as they could. Well, by the time we bought it, it was still a bunch of stuff in that house. And we went through it and tried to salvage as much as we could. And I'm telling you, it was some really nice stuff. So some of it that Christmas we were able to re-gift it to other people and let them know this was in an old house that we bought, and it's a beautiful piece, and we didn't want to just take it to the dump and throw it away. So if you'd like to have it, we'd like you to have it. And we just gave away a lot of stuff. We didn't sell anything. We gave away a lot of it. And but we still took something like 2,100 pounds of stuff to the dump. It was now, and that stuff that we took to the dump really was ruined. It had been rained on, the ceiling had been falling in and all this kind of stuff. Rusty pots and pans, stuff that you wouldn't even give to Goodwill or Salvation Army or anything like that. 2,100 pounds we took to the dump. Um, and then after we felt like we had salvaged out of the house everything that we saw of value, we were aware that the community around us was a fairly poor community. I mean, you could drive through there and look at some of the houses and swear nobody lived in it, but somebody did live in it, and that was the best they could do. So we put out a kind of an announcement to the whole town that if anybody needed anything, they could just go in there and get it. But I also let them know go in at your own risk because, the ceiling's falling in or the floor is giving way or whatever. So we opened up the house to the community. And I'm telling you, people took the windows, the doors, the entire shower left. I mean, the whole thing. I never seen anything like that. They took the shower. A lot of the kitchen stuff that we didn't see any use for it, they took that. I mean, they took stuff. There was stuff up in the attic. I was like, oh my God. Anyhow, so we left the house open for anyone that wanted to get anything, if they could use anything. And the lady knocked on our RV door and she says, my friend had a fire and was burned out. They don't have anything. Can they go in and look around and see if there's something they can use? I said, sure, help yourself, at your own risk. I'm not paying nobody's insurance. You fall through the floor. So wear a hard hat, some boots, whatever. And so we did that for about a week or so. And then afterwards, we hired someone. We called DEQ, which is the people that are in charge of making sure you're not polluting the ground and all that stuff here. And we called them and we called the state to find out, okay, what do we need to do with this house? Because it would cost us a fortune to take the house down and take the whole thing to the city dump. It would cost us a fortune. And we don't have a fortune. So what do we need to do? And they said, well, as long as you're 50 feet from anyone's water source or their property line, that's your land. If you want to bury it, you can bury it. Bingo. We found a guy in another town that had an earth mover and he was used to doing stuff like that. So we hired him to take the house down and everything that was left in it. When people stopped coming, nobody else was coming. And we had out of it what we wanted to have out of it. We paid him to take the house down and bury it. So that's what we've done. But that's the difference between a hoarder and a prepper. Okay. Preppers, they share. They share with the people that they care about, but also it's with decisions as to how much you're going to share, how much you're going to talk to them about. When you who do you have in mind? What are you going to do if someone shows up at your door and said, I need some place to stay, or I don't have enough food? And this is a person that you have been talking to. This is a person that you have been trying to get across to them the importance. Listen, go to the store and pick up 2 cans of green beans, pick up 3, put one in your shelf, that you're just going to keep there for safekeeping or whatever. What happens when the power goes out and you can't get to the store or whatever all else, or with so many migrants coming through our country door, including the back door, um, and they're not being vetted, and we don't know who they are. You don't know what kind of danger you're in. You don't know if things can get so hot and so heated here, especially after the election or leading up to the election, that it may not be safe for you to go outside for a few days. It wouldn't make good common sense for you to go outside if you hear guns going off or people screaming or whatever all else. Do you want to put yourself in the middle of that? You want to put your kids in the middle of that? You want to put your family members in the middle of that? You have to do what you have to do to stay safe. And I'm not saying live in fear. I'm saying don't be afraid, be aware. That's what I'm saying. It's nothing to be afraid of, but you need to be careful. You need to use some common sense. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. We have not seen the last of bank closures. Okay. Oh man, that's a whole nother mess. All right. And so you need to go over to people's channels that deal with finance, um, uh, Economic Ninja, Constitutional Stacker that deal with gold and silver and things like that. Lynette Lang, Lang, whatever. That deal with finances that can give you a better idea as to what you may want to consider doing with your finances, because these banks are collapsing, and what they're doing is they're collapsing the smaller banks and absorbing them. All right. There was a gentleman, I think he was in California, and he had a substantial amount of money and gold and silver in a safe deposit box in the bank. Now, listen, there's a saying out there, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Okay. It was in a safe deposit box in the bank. Well, for whatever reason, the feds decided they were going to hit all these safe deposit boxes, and they took his stuff, and they took all his stuff. And what they're hoping is that you don't have enough money to fight your way through court to prove that it was an ill-gotten gain, that you didn't do something illegal to get this money. Okay. It's crazy. Now, right now, I live here in Oklahoma, and we have some pretty good senators and congressmen that are fighting to abolish civil asset forfeiture, is what it's called. Now, what does that mean? That means you can just be traveling on your merrily way down the highway, and let's just say, I don't know, you hit bingo or you hit the lottery, whatever. And you go and you cash your money. You got all this cash, over $10,000 in your possession. And you're going down the highway. And for some fluke of a reason, the cops decide they want to stop you and pull you over. They pull you over. Can I search you? Now, some people feel like, because they're law-abiding citizens and they don't have anything to hide and they haven't done anything illegal, they'll just say, sure, go ahead. Well, now you've opened up a can of worms, because if they search you and they find out that you have all this money on you, they can ticket and they can say, we believe that you got this through ill-gotten gains. We believe that there could be something illegal about the way you obtain this money. So you're just going to have to go to court and prove that you didn't, you wasn't bootlegging or whatever, and they can keep it. And you will absolutely exhaust yourself and bankrupt yourself trying to prove that you did nothing illegal to get this money, all because of a random stop. So here in our state, we're fighting trying to get that thing lifted, because what it is it is legalized theft is what it is by law enforcement. And we're fighting against that because it's wrong. The Constitution protects you from unlawful search and seizure. Okay. So there's that. Anyway, listen, you guys, when I end the live stream, you can continue the conversation down in the comment section. It helps keep the channel in the forefront of things. It helps keeps the channel alive. And again, I would appreciate you guys sharing the channel, talking to other people about the channel. Make sure you find your way over to Constitutional Stacker's channel. That's the name of his channel, Constitutional Stacker. And um, The Poplar Report by Steve Poplar, um, Appalachia's Homestead by Patera with Patera. It's different channels that have good content, and it'll help you. It'll help broaden your horizon as far as what direction you need to go in and how you need to manage things in this crazy upside down kind of world that we're living in right now. So I want to look at the comments and see, did anybody have any questions before I sign off for the night? And thank you, Jacqueline. She says, I'm really behind. I will share the channel. I appreciate that. Thank you. What you say, Constance? They're gonna put me in YouTube jail again. You know what? I haven't been in jail yet. I feel neglected. Everybody gets to go to YouTube jail but me. I don't know what happened. I'm not in there yet. But what they have been doing is they hide my channel. When you go from 1,700 views down to 200, like overnight. So, you know, they're doing stuff. They're doing stuff to my channel and other people's channels that are talking about stuff like this. And because they've been brought up in court so many times about shadow banning and all that, they don't say nothing now. They just don't give out the announcement. They don't send the notification. They don't do any of it. So one of the things that you may need to do is make sure you're still subscribed to the channel, because they unsubscribe people. I have not unsubscribed anybody. I have asked people to unsubscribe because I felt like, yeah, you know what? There ain't no meeting of the minds here. You need to find somewhere else to be. And I think most of those people may be gone. So if you're still here, you're either like minded or you're crazy. One or the other. I don't know. You got to figure it out. But anyway, I thank you guys so much for being here tonight. And please think about what I said. Get whatever medication that you can right now, because it may become unavailable very soon. We don't know what other cyber hacks or attacks are coming. I know they've hit the medical system. I was at the doctor's office, come to think of it, just the other day. I'm at the doctor's office. And when she went to pull up my file, they got hacked. I'm telling you, just like she says, I went to pull up your file. She says, and I can't get it. Our computer system is completely down, offline. And that was at the VA. Okay, so there you go. There you go. So she couldn't even, we talked and she could make some handwritten notes, but she couldn't access my file. So that happened while I was sitting there. At another time, I was going to the hospital, and I got to the hospital and it was dark inside. The revolving doors didn't work. I'm watching people like, what is happening? And got in there, and yeah, they had been hacked. The power went out. It was crazy. And this has all happened in the last month or two. So it's happening, and I have witnessed it. So there you go. Make sure you have what you need. Get to the store, get a little extra. It ain't going to kill you to do it. And make sure you have good water for sanitation and all that. And just have your head on a swivel when April the 8th rolls around, because we don't know what they have planned. But I will tell you this, it ain't no major catastrophic event for a total eclipse, okay? It is not. So I don't know what they have planned or what intel they're not sharing with the public, but I do not trust our government. They are wholly corrupt. Every realm of our society has been corrupt, right down to the justice system, the FBI, the whole 9 yards, the medical system, everything, food, everything. Everything has been touched. So be careful out there. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't take life for granted. You are not living in the same America that you grew up in. You're not living in the same America that it was even 10 years ago. This is not the same place. And so you're going to have to learn how to live differently and to live more carefully and more intentionally to keep yourself safe and your family safe. Anyway, having said all that, again, I appreciate you being here. Please share the channel. Continue the conversation below in the comment section. My email address is in the description box. I answer all of my emails. If you write me, I will write you back as soon as I get your email and I have a chance to sit down and go through it. I will write you back. And I love hearing from you guys. I like hearing from you. So thank you so much. Have a good rest of your weekend. Have a good evening too. And resurrection celebrations are coming up soon. So God bless you guys. I don't know if I'll be back on before or after that time. I try to come on once or twice a month. I'm not a professional YouTuber. This isn't my job. I don't get paid to be here. That's why I come on when I feel like it, or I come on if I feel like there's something really pressing that I may need to run past you guys so that you know, because you may not be aware. Some of you work and you don't have time to keep up with a lot of things that I can keep up with as a retired person. So, anyway, thank you for being here. You guys take care. God bless you. Godspeed. Hi, Amber. And we will see you guys later. Have a good evening.